So there's two categories the Solomon is telling his sons not to be with. A drunkard and a person that likes to eat a lot. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of Christians are in this category and nobody's saying nothing. I'm sorry, if you weigh 300-400 pounds in a wheelchair, you're a gluttonous eater of meat. There's no way around it. And you need to be corrected. We can't overlook that. People think, oh, I'm saving my soul. According to the Bible, you're a gluttonous eater of meat. It says, do not be among them. Be not among gluttonous eaters of meat. Why? For the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty. Drunkards, they'll lose their job. Their health will start falling apart. Same thing with a gluttonous person. They will come to poverty. All of a sudden, they can't work. They're too paralyzed because of their gluttonous eating. Now, they can't even work. And now, they're home struck.
Hey, but I'ma preach the word and none of that hate gon' work. Hey, hold up. Now I don't know what you heard, but don't believe anyone that can't show you the word.
Hey, Proverbs 23. This is going to be a very long chapter. It's 30 plus verses, so let's just get into it. The first two verses has to do with eating. First with a king and then with a stingy man. All right. When you sit down to eat with a ruler, observe carefully what is before you. All right, and put a knife to your throat if you are given to appetite. Verse 3, do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Okay, so look, before you go before a ruler, somebody in authority, they're going to have this big, beautiful banquet. But don't be like, I'll eat eclairs, croissants. It says when you go there, observe what is set before you. So watch what's there. And put a knife to your throat if you are given to appetite. So if you have, in another version it says gluttony. So if you're one of these people that just love to eat and you see these exquisite foods that are your favorite, put a knife to your throat. Don't just go grabbing it like it's a buffet, like a Chinese buffet. Do not desire his delicacy. So when you see it, if you have that appetite, you got to say, no, I don't want it. Why? For they are deceptive food. The reason why these rulers used to do it back then was so it could put you in a state of mind at peace. So then that's when you start, spilling beans, you become so casual and comfortable that you start saying things that you would not have said. That's the goal of the food. It was just to get you comfortable. So you should have been wiser to say, okay, I see all this. I know what the agenda is. Not, and then, think he's your pal, but really he's just trying to get your secrets out of you. All right, verse 4. Do not toil to acquire wealth. Be discerning enough to desist. All right. So do not look, God will give you wealth. But if you're working all the time to get wealthy, God says don't do that. You're not supposed to be like, I want to be a millionaire or a billionaire by the age of 30. No, that's the wrong mindset. That's not a mindset of the wise. And then it says, be discerning enough to desist. In other words, if you do have that mindset, stop it. Be discerning enough. What does it mean to be discerning? Meaning, look, if you're striving to be rich, it's going to stress you out. It's going to shorten your life. You're going to lose a lot of relationships. So be discerning enough to say, okay, I see this guy. He's a millionaire at age 25. This guy's a billionaire at 30. It sounds good, but really it's going to destroy you. So be discerning enough to say, you know what? I'm not going to go down that route. That's what this nation, especially America, promotes. They promote the guy that are billionaires and millionaires, and then they make the young people jealous. Say, oh man, I want to be like that. No. Do not toil to acquire wealth. Don't toil for that. We're supposed to work with our hands and everything, but if you're striving just to be wealthy, relax. All right. Verse 5. When your eyes light on it, it is gone. Talking about your wealth. All these people that are rich, look, when your eyes light on it, it is gone. For suddenly it will sprout wings, flying like an eagle toward heaven. How many times you hear of a guy owning a business, the business doing well, and all of a sudden, business slows down, and all of a sudden they're out, they don't have a business, and 10 years later, they're working a menial job. Why? Because riches come and go. You know, they're not going to last forever. You know, things are not going to, you know, everything is not going to work out the way you think it will. So that's a mindset you got to have. Not be like, oh, I'm rich now, so I'm going to be rich in 20 years. You don't know. You don't know. It'll fly. For suddenly it sprouts wing. Your riches will sprout wings, flying like an eagle toward heaven. Bye-bye. Your riches are gone. So what's the point? You know, that's the mentality you should have. Like, I see these people getting rich. They're rich now, but what's the point? Because eventually they're... It reminds me of these hip-hop artists. You know, they wear the chains. They got the cars. Then 5 years later, they haven't made a good song, and nobody's going to the concerts. And then where are they? All those riches are gone. All right, scroll down. 6. Now, this is the second part of eating. It says, do not eat the bread of a man who is stingy. Do not desire his delicacy. So remember it said don't desire the ruler's delicacies. Now it's saying, look, a stingy man, he might not even be rich. He might be just middle class. Don't desire his delicacies. Why? Verse 7 explains, for he is like one who is inward calculating. So inside his heart, he has all these delicacies out, but inside he's like, oh, that cost me like $30. That cost me $40. Ugh, I don't know. Ugh, I hope these guys don't go for that. You know, it's kind of expensive. That's how he is in his mind. But this is what he'll tell you. Eat and drink. He'll be like, go ahead. Inwardly, he's calculating. Go ahead. Have whatever you want. Eat and drink. He says to you, but his heart is not with you. So in other words, he said, go eat whatever you want. But really, he's like, please don't eat that big prime rib right there, the T-bone steak. Don't eat that. You know, that's how he is. And this is what's going to happen because you do that. You will vomit up the morsels that you have eaten and waste your pleasant words. So it's not going to be a pleasant experience. You know, you see all that wonderful banquet of food, but while you're eating, you're like, I'm not enjoying this because this guy is all up on me. He's like smothering me, you know, and you'll waste your pleasant words. You probably, when you came in, like, oh my goodness, what a beautiful banquet. Oh, you got a beautiful house. But then you realize this guy, he doesn't want me to eat this. You know, this is like torture. It's not even fun eating right now. So verse 9. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool. So in other words, if there's a fool around you, you know this guy is foolish, don't even speak in front of that fool. Why? For he will despise the good sense of your words. In other words, if you give good knowledge, let's just say you're talking to somebody and the fool's right there, he'll come at you and say, oh, that's stupid. You know, so don't even, if there's a fool around, don't even speak in the presence of a fool. Try to pull the person to the side. Don't let him, because then why? Because it says, he will despise the good sense of your words. He'll contradict he'll oppose what you're saying. Verse 10, do not mark, verse 10 and 11 are together. Verse 10 and 11. Do not move an ancient landmark or enter the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is strong and he will plead their cause against you. So in other words, look, don't take advantage of people that are destitute, who are powerless. Look, it said that the field of the fatherless, that means they're orphans. They have a field. Their father probably had the field, but because they don't have a father, the field belongs to them, but because they don't have a father, they have no guardian. So all of a sudden people start encroaching on the field. Oh, let me take part of this land. God says, don't do that, and do not move an ancient landmark. You know, ancient means like old. So this like an old man's possession. You know, and all of a sudden, you know, the house looks kind of old and withered. And like, you know what? Maybe I'll take that little land there. You know, because you know what they're doing with it. It says, don't do that. Why? Because their Redeemer, God, is strong, and he will plead their cause against you. He will fight for them against you if you do that. So, verse 12. Apply your heart to instruction and your ear to the words of knowledge. So this is a common theme throughout the book of Proverbs. Apply your heart to instruction. You know, your heart, not just come and, okay, I'm going to hear. You got to apply your heart and your ear to the words of knowledge. Be ready to hear. Not like, okay, I'm zoning out, I'm spacing out. All right, 13. Scroll down. Actually, I wish I had it. Colossians 3:8. It says, Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. If you strike him with a rod, you will save his soul from Sheol, or from hell. I says, look, do not withhold discipline from a child. Okay, it's not talking about discipline like I'm going to take away, you have no phone rights for a day. No. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. Look, if you beat your child for something that he's done, mind you, okay, you discussed it with him, you corrected him, and he's still not receiving correction, it's time for the rod. He will not die. Okay, he's not going to die if you beat him with the rod. I know there's a, in I think Colossians 3:8 it says that people have been spoiled by vain, empty philosophies. And a lot of philosophy has crept in the church in regards to child raising. All of a sudden, a lot of Christian parents are saying, well, I would not, beat them, because, it might psychologically damage them. They have a view of me as a monster. If you strike him with a rod, he's not going to die. He's not going to die physically, and all this emotional baggage that you suppose they're going to have is not going to be there. Why? If you strike him with a rod, you will save his soul from hell. That's why you strike him, all right? And here God's saying it will save his soul from hell. They're going down the wrong path. You got to beat them. You already spoke to them. You already punished them. You already now it's time for the rod. Why? Because you're trying to save their soul from hell. They're not listening. So nothing else. This will make them listen. Verse 15. My son, if your heart is wise, my heart too will be glad. Right? That's the joy of a good, godly father. If they have a wise son, their heart is going to be glad because their son is wise, or their daughter. My inmost being will exult when your lips speak what is right. Wow. Click on that 16. Let me go to NIV, the first verse. It says, For my innermost being will rejoice when your lips speak what is right. So it's basically the same. Basically, it's saying, look, if you have a wise son, if it's a wise father, the thing that will please them is not the money, the fame, the power. Go back. It's not that. The thing that will please them is they're saying right things, and that's as children. Your desire, first and foremost, is to be a wise thing, because that will exalt. Like I said, this is the Father speaking, verse 16. My innermost being will exult when your lips speak what is right. The Father will be like, oh man, my son, he gets it, he understands it. Why? Because my son, if your heart is wise, my heart too will be glad. So if the son's heart is wise, it will make his father's heart rejoice. 17. Let not your heart envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all day long. All right. So don't be jealous of these sinners and how they prosper and how popular they are. Don't envy them, but continue in the fear of the Lord. You got to walk in the fear of the Lord all the day. Not part of the day, the whole day. Actually, click on that. And I think in the King James it says all the day long, right? Click on it, 17. Scroll down. But be in the fear of the Lord all the day long, right there. That's when you get understand the fear of the Lord, it's not a one-time thing. You got to fear him all the day long. And don't envy sinners. Thank you, Josh, for putting it back. Verse 18. Surely there is a future and your hope will not be cut off. Okay, it's talking about the verse before. If you fear God, you will have a future and your hope will not be cut off. Any hope you have is not going to be, God's not going to destroy you. But you got to walk in the fear of the Lord all the day long to have those two promises. Verse 19, hear my son and be wise and direct your heart in the way. I click on that. I like the way the NIV version says it. Let's see. Listen, my son, and be wise. Set your heart on the right path. You got to set your heart. If you're a wise son or wise daughter, you will set your heart on the right path. You're not going to go down another path. You say, I want to go down the right path. Click on, go back, 20. Okay, let's go down. Okay, verse 20 says, be not among drunkards or among gluttonous eaters of meat. So there's two categories the Solomon is telling his sons not to be with. A drunkard and a person that likes to eat a lot. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of Christians are in this category and nobody's saying nothing. I'm sorry, if you weigh 300-400 pounds in a wheelchair, you're a gluttonous eater of meat. There's no way around it. And you need to be corrected. You know, we can't overlook that. You know, people think, oh, I'm saving my soul. According to the Bible, you're a gluttonous eater of meat. It says, do not be among them. Be not among gluttonous eaters of meat. Why? For the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty. Drunkards, they'll lose their job. Their health will start falling apart. Same thing with a gluttonous person. They will come to poverty. All of a sudden, they can't work. They're too paralyzed because of their gluttonous eating. Now they can't even work, and now they're home struck. For the drunk and the glutton will come to poverty, and slumber will clothe them with rags. A drunkard, when he gets so, I don't know if there's a bad word, when they get pissed drunk, they get so tired. Sometimes they don't even know that they don't even know where they are when they slept. And so it is with the gluttonous eater. There's a phrase, the itis. I'm not going to say the whole word. They get the itis. And that's why they will come to poverty. Because slumber will clothe them with rags. You ever see like overly obese people? They wear clothes that look kind of run down and all that. Why? Because the slumber will clothe them with rags. That's their due penalty. So, and I'm telling you right now, a lot of Christians, they're in this category. They need to repent. Verse 22. Listen to your father who gave you life. All right. So listen to me, guys. The Solomon is talking to his sons, but you got to listen to a wise father. Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. See, look, in those days when a mother got old, she was destitute. Most of them didn't have a career. There was no pension or anything. So a lot of kids used to grow up and be like, I don't want to deal with her, and she's just a burden. It says, do not despise your mother when she is old. Don't forget about what she did for you, for the first 18 years of your life. And now, that was 40 years ago. Now all of a sudden she's destitute and you're like, I don't want to deal with her. Do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy truth and do not sell it. See, look, if you have the truth, don't sell out. Don't be like, like these, I always hear about these quote unquote Christian artists that were young teenagers, and, they talk about Jesus all the time. But then when a record company or some channel tells them, we'll give you a contract, but you got to give up your values. They sold out the truth. It says, buy the truth and do not sell it. Don't change the truth for nothing. It'll be like, well, my career, I want to have this career. I want to be famous. I want to be rich. When you have the truth, do not sell it. Buy wisdom, instruction, and understanding. So these are things you got to buy. Truth, wisdom, instruction, understanding. Meaning it's going to cost you. It might cost you monetarily, but it might cost you time. It might cost you, you got to work your schedule and all that, but you got to buy it. This is a command. This is what Solomon is telling his sons. You have to buy it. 24, the father of the righteous will greatly rejoice. When you have a righteous son and you see they're walking in the right path, the father greatly rejoices. He who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. The father will be glad in the wise son, not in his money, his possessions. The thing that brings a wise father joy is a wise son. They could be just middle class, average, but if they're wise, he'd be like, oh man, I'm glad I got a son or a daughter like that. 25. Let your father and mother be glad. Okay, you want your mother and father to be glad. How do you make them glad? The father righteous will greatly rejoice. He who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. Be wise. You want to make your mom, don't buy her flowers or, take them on a trip on a cruise. Be wise. Let your father and mother be glad. Let her who bore you rejoice. How? Be wise. Be a wise person. All right, 26. My son, give me your heart Now listen to this. My son, give me your heart and let your eyes observe my ways. Okay? A wise father wants his children to watch him. He's not just telling them what they need to hear. He's actually doing it. And he's saying, look at me. The things I'm doing, I want you to do it too. Where's that? My son, give me your heart and let your eyes observe my ways. Now he's going to talk about a prostitute and adulteress. For a prostitute is a deep pit. Now mind you, it says for. That means he's putting it, he's connecting it with the previous thought. Let me go back. My son, give me your heart and let your eyes observe my ways. For a prostitute is a deep pit. So that's one person. And an adulteress is a narrow well. All right. So these two women, a prostitute and an adulteress, they're bad. They're a deep well and they're a narrow well. If you ever see sometimes a little girl falls down a well and they're trying to rescue her, but nobody can reach in because it's so tight. That's the image of these two. A deep well. A deep pit is a prostitute. It's like you're going down and you fall down the well and you're falling like 20 seconds. You still haven't even landed. Now talking about both of them, she lies in wait like a robber. Okay, many prostitutes, they mug men. While they're sleeping, they steal their money, they steal the wallet. Or they have what they call like a pimp, and then the pimp sticks you up. For she is like a robber and increases the traitors among men. Click 28. It says in the NIV, like a bandit, she lies in wait and multiplies the unfaithful among men. Or in the King James, increases the transgressors among men. So she increases unfaithful men and sin, and she increases sin. In other words, adulteress, she'll break a covenant with her husband or make the man, break his covenant with his wife. And the prostitute too, the wife thinking, oh, my man is faithful, but he's sleeping around with prostitutes. She's increasing unfaithfulness and also increasing sin. That's come in these especially whorehouses. There's drug activity, gambling. Anywhere there's a spot that has prostitution, that place is all run down. There's a lot of crime going on. So that's a sign that, you like they say about prostitutes, them when you see them. But that's what they do. They increase the unfaithfulness among men and also sin. Go back. All right, let's see, 29. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Right? It's going to talk about the drunkard. Right? So this is who has woe, sorrow, strife. Anybody who ever drunk, you always see them. They're arguing about the dumbest thing. Who has complaining? Oh, they complain about everything. They all of a sudden they're complaining about taxes or the government. Who has wound without cause? In other words, they get beat down. They don't even know why they got beat down. Who has redness of eyes? A drunk person, their eyes are bloodshot. 30. Those who tarry long over wine. Those who go to try mixed wine. So this is the effect of drinking wine, tarrying long over wine. 31. Do not look at wine when it's red, when it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. People that like to drink alcohol, they could smell it, they could see it, and it looks so good. It looks so pleasing and it looks so desirable. But here Solomon's telling his sons, don't do that. Why? 32. Go ahead. In the end, it, talking about the wine, bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. So it's gonna hit you back. You think, oh, it smells so good, it looks so beautiful, I've tasted so many before. It's gonna bite you like a serpent and sting like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things. All of a sudden you're seeing, all of a sudden you're having hallucinations, you're seeing things, you're double vision. Your eyes will see strange things and your heart utter perverse things. They say alcohol it brings out the truth in people. I forgot the phrase they used, but that's what alcohol does. You'll say perverse things that you would not have said before. Now you're saying it. You will be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea. So I think of a guy floating in one of those air floaties, and they're in the middle of the sea just going up and down. You will be like one who lies in the midst of the sea, like one who lies on the top of a mast. The mast is where the top of the ship was, where the pole is, and they're just hanging up there. And this is what they're going to say. They struck me, you will say, but I was not hurt. So notice, remember it said that, go back up, who has in verse 29, who has wound without cause. Go back down. They struck me, you will say, but I was not hurt. So in other words, somebody hit you, or you might have just bumped a wall, who knows? Or God forbid, got into a car wreck, and you're like, they have struck me, but I was not hurt. Alcohol or even drugs, they give you this almost like an adrenaline rush that you could take a beating and still walk through it like nothing happened. They struck me, you will say, but I was not hurt. They beat me, so he knows he got beat down, but I did not feel it. That liquor, strong liquor will, give you some superpowers, and you could take a beating and you won't even feel it. But look how foolish this man is. When shall I awake? I must have another drink. Instead of saying, look, all this drama, all this punishment has befallen me, I got to stop doing this. It's not very wise. It's very hurtful, very damaging. No, what does this guy says? When shall I awake? So he's still a little bit slumber. When shall I awake? I must have another drink. He doesn't correlate that all this drama that he's suffering, all the beat down, the pain he has, he doesn't conclude, let me get away from it. No, he's like, let me keep drinking. So don't be this guy, please. From verse 29 down, don't be this guy. Solomon's trying to say, look, when you get older, you're going to go into these social events, these parties, and people boasting about their alcoholic consumption. This is foolishness. This is madness, really. You got beat down and you still want to do the thing that got you beat down. That's madness. So stay away from alcohol, Solomon's trying to tell his sons. So we'll stop there. All right. Anybody has a